Special meeting. This is a special meeting of the Safety and Security Committee. We met on February 7th and reviewed the news release that Chief Veen sent out to the Northern Light. We also reviewed Chief Veen's website. And because by February, we could see the difference between 2022 and 2023. So we're able to see kind of what where the trends were going. So we thought it would be helpful for the community to have an informational meeting with Chief Veen, Commissioner Bruce Ansel, and Commissioner Matt Rigberg. So we've got 3 representatives of the fire district here to provide information about the status of the fire district, how it affects Semiahmoo, and I guess Birch Bay as well, and any levy lid lift that might be considered for this year, for the August ballot. And so with that information, Dylan, please go ahead and take it away. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me here. As Delia said, I'm Jason Vanderveen, I'm the fire chief for North Wacom Fire Rescue. And to my right here is board chair Bruce Ansel. He's an elected official, just like a mayor or a city council person, as well as Matt Rigberg, who's also a commissioner. And we had Matt come, he lives in Semiahmoo, so he might be someone you
On a pest.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. I'm here today to talk to you about, the word proposed should be in there. A proposed levy lid lift that the board is considering placing on the August ballot. Just a short history of North Wacom. I'll show you a map in a little bit. North Wacom's big. It's about 160 square miles. We run from the water to halfway between Linden and Neverson, and from the Canadian border just about to the city of Bellingham city limits and Ferndale Bay Road, and then down to the Bellingham city limits. Inside that we have 4 paid stations, or sorry, inside that we also just Whatcom County Fire District 4 also contracts with us for services. So inside the combined or the contracted district, we have 4 paid stations. 1 is in Fire District 4, 3 are in Fire District 21, which is also known as North Wacom. We have 1 in the Laurel area, 1 up here, Station 63 on Birch Bay Linden Road, and then Station 61, which is on Liddell and Blaine. The 2 that obviously primarily respond to here are Blaine and Birch Bay. As a point of interest, on my way out here, the fire station in Blaine was transporting a patient to the hospital, and the station in 61 was in the 8,000 block of Birch Bay Drive on another aid call that I would have bet my lunch would have been a transport. I don't know why it wasn't, but the guys and gals did their job, and they ultimately didn't transport the patient. So that happens multiple times a day, where you'll see both units on a call in either one community or the other, or they're split apart in both. It happens quite often. The state of Washington is the way that fire districts are funded in the state of Washington is we do not get any money from the county. The county does not fund us. We are a standalone political junior taxing district, I guess is how you call us. We are just above libraries when it comes to our taxing authority, correct?
It's pretty good. I think sometimes I thought we didn't know libraries, but I know we're pretty low on the pecking order, believe it or not. And as a public safety entity, it seems crazy that parks and libraries are, I don't know, it's been so long since I've looked because it just doesn't matter anymore. But we're not high up on the list of who, if you were to lose funding, it would go in a strange order. Fortunately, we haven't done that because we're such at a low levy rate right now that it's probably not going to happen. But that's getting into the weeds.
How can you move that up?
We can't, legislature.
No, how? There's gotta be.
Legislature could do it.
Okay, fine.
Initiative of the people, maybe.
Going anyway.
There you go.
So
There are better things to put your time and effort into, as you'll find out.
So I don't know what I've been able to put together through the history of how that worked is in the 20s and 30s when fire districts were formed, usually as community associations or as kind of men's groups.
Volunteer
Volunteer
organizations.
organizations. At the state decided that they needed to create some way for these people to fundraise or get revenue, other than a bingo hall or a spaghetti feed. So they put together fire districts. They are like, it's odd. So the sheriff's, like in the county, you have the sheriff's department provides law enforcement and the fire district provides fire and EMS. The sheriff's department is funded through the general fund of the county. Fire districts are totally separate. It's kind of an odd, and a lot of people think that we do get a very small amount, about 2% of our money from the county. But a lot of people think that we're funded from the county, and why doesn't the county?
How much in
give us-
property tax do you get?
Right now, we overall, our levy rate is 76 cents per thousand of your assessed valuation, and for the total of the district, it's about $6.9 million.
Uh-huh.
So, so with that being said, that kind of gives a little bit of background as to how fire districts are funded and why a levy rate matters to us and to you as the recipients of the service.
And the taxpayers.
And the taxpayers.
I think it's also, I read on your website, Chief, that last year we were paying 85 cents per 1,000.
Yes,
And this year it's 76 cents.
there's a
per
slide,
1,000.
there's a slide in here that will kind of get to that.
Okay. Okay, just, that's what I meant about the trend.
It is related to assessed value, which has gone up significantly, we all know. But it's limited by 1%.
Right.
So if your property taxes go up 100%, we get 1%. If inflation is 10%, like it was last year, we get 1%. So over the last 20 years, we've gone from $1.42 to 76. And we can't fund today's wages, and fire truck costs $1 million, fire truck costs $2 million, lead car costs $400,000. 90+% of our budget goes to salaries. So we have just a few pennies to buy equipment and Band-Aids and hose and rescue tools and everything else. Radios, we're currently trying to get a grant for radios. We need $150,000 worth of new radios that are 15 years old. And we're applying to the federal government for that. We were denied last time. We're hoping to meet this time.
What about a GoFundMe page?
Look, we'd love for you to start one.
Okay.
So, as I said, we cover, about 34,000 people over about 156 square miles. Here's a map. We're the green part. So you can see, it's kind of, at least from my perspective, it's kind of blurred out, but, so green area.
This is you folks up here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, my bad. City of Blaine, Simiamu, Birch Bay Village. Those are our sort of what we call our high impact areas. That's where most of our population resides and where most of our calls come in. And then this is kind of rural. This is the quote Laurel area we talked about. This is the donut hole, which is the city of Linden. They have chosen to be their own entity for whatever reasons, and probably will forever. This is Ferndale here, and then do we have, District 4, which contracts to us, so that's that Agate Bay, kind of the north end of Lake Whatcom. They have a fire station right here, which we staff. They basically pay us to run their fire district because it's not economical for for them to do so with a shrinking tax base, and the city of Bellingham continues to chomp away at anything that has any tax value,
Yeah.
leaving them with nothing to fund
Right.
properly a full-fledged fire district.
So you can see it's a big area. It's a lot of ground to cover. Although I realize we're here to talk primarily about the Semyama, Blaine, Birch Bay area. But just to give you an idea of what we cover in a day. That's so, yes, sir.
Does, contracting the fire district floor, does that create a drain on your reserves, or does it reflect a revenue positive position?
It's revenue neutral, I would say. They pay us directly, they pay us for direct costs. The savings is in administration. So they pay a quarter of my salary. What the contract says, they pay 25% of our operating expenses. So they pay for 25% of the firefighters. They pay for, as one of 4 paid stations, they pay for a quarter of the administrative costs, which is, salaries and all the things that go into running the fire department. So I would say it's cost neutral. Now, in the past, before I was chief and before Commissioner Hanson was here, we've gone back and audited. We've always passed, both districts have always passed our state audits. But I think it's a clearer agreement now, and we have a better understanding with the Fire District Board of Commissioners. They're a fire district just like we are. They have elected officials.
Legally, we can't fund them. So because we're a separate fire district and they are, it's illegal for our taxpayers to pay for their service.
Right.
So we've gone back and forth, and they were kind of standing on the edge of the cliff last year. Before they lifted their lid, we were gonna cancel our contract last year because they would not have been able to pay their fair share. And their voters realized that that would be a bad thing, and they lifted their lid, which now allows them to pay their fair share, and we provide that service.
Yeah, there's regulation. You can't pass money back. You can't, it's called gifting of public funds. You can't do
And
it.
it wouldn't be fair for you to be paying
No.
for
You
someone
can say donation.
we.
So the 4 primary things we do in the community is fire suppression, EMS, fire prevention, and public education. Right now, fire suppression and EMS take up, that's about 99% of what we do. We have a very small prevention and public education. Just the ability to do it isn't there. We're, like as I said, we're taxpayers, we're debt free. We operate under a balanced budget, and we passed all our state and financial and accountability audits for both money and for things, for capital items. So in 2023, the district responded to a little over 5,700 calls. It's split fairly evenly between the 3 stations in Fire District 21. Station 12 responds to a little bit less. 71% of our emergencies are medical emergencies. And about 30% of our time, we have overlapping calls, which is where, like today, we had station 63 on Birch Bay Leonard Road was on its way to the hospital. Station 61 from Blaine, which would be the second aid car coming here or engine coming here, was in the 8,000 block of Birch Bay Drive. And the next aid car, had there been a third 911 call in Birch Bay, that unit would be coming from the Ferndale area, and not ours.
And
It's another fire district.
sorry, Chief, in layperson terms, what does that translate to in terms of
So
response?
it's a delayed response. It's automatic, but it's delayed because of how far it's come. Yes, sir.
This station right over here is closed, right? What would it cost to reopen it?
Costs about $1.6 million a year to staff the station.
Okay.
And we'll get to that. That's part of this levy. Part of this discussion about the levy is putting on an additional unit that would actually be at the Semiahmoo station. And it would be dedicated to the Semiahmoo area, but it would help with those overflow times where we just see so many, we have so many, not redundant, but consecutive calls in the Blaine and Birch Bay area. We need to get another unit on the.
Just from a historical perspective, I don't know how many you were here when that station was built.
I'm sure when it was over.
But here,
It was.
It was built in the 1993, 94.
So it was never staffed by
that's much over.
full-time paid professional firefighters. There were some
I know, I remember
volunteers in there
years.
years and years ago. My understanding is the developer of Semiahmoo built that station as a promotion to sell houses in the neighborhood. So look, you have your own fire station, it'd be a great place to live because they're just a couple minutes away.
What was
And
the
it-
name of the developer?
Trillium.
Sorry.
Trillium.
Oh, wow.
So, it's just a fact, because we always get beat up, because like, how come you didn't staff that station? How come you don't have people there? How come you're not doing this,
Yeah.
doing that? Well, it was never in our master plan development to staff that, or did we have the funding to do it? So please don't beat us up. We're really trying to get the communities to understand the cost of doing that. The station right now is in a bit of disrepair. We have some bids on getting it up and running. I mean, I don't know if you're gonna go into the whole station thing, but Birch Bay Station is falling down. We're gonna probably have to move the crew from Birch Bay up here to Semiahmoo, which is good news for you folks, bad news for us Birch Bay folks. And then borrow money to rebuild the station in Birch Bay until we can get up and running. But long story short, why isn't that staffed? We don't have the funding to do it. We're hoping with a Levy lid lift, we could staff an aid car there. So when all these, because 70% of what we do is medical emergencies, is get somebody closer to you, when you call 911. And I was a medic for 20 years. I worked in Belgium for 30 years. So I understand what response times mean. And, when your cat's stuck in the tree, it doesn't make a difference. But when your loved one is laying on the floor not breathing, it's a huge difference. And a 2-hour transport time for one of our aid cars is a significant delay to get to your house. You'll
What do
get
you
the
mean a
next
2-hour transport?
for, let's say, Birch Bay goes to your house or the village.
Say Birch Bay goes to 5085 Drayton Harbor Road.
Okay, and they transport. It takes roughly 2 hours to get to St. Joe's and back in service.
Oh, okay, no.
From the time they leave the station to respond to the call,
Yeah,
stabilize the patient, prep him for transport, get him in the rig, go to St. Joe's, and it's kind of a snowball effect. St. Joe's being one hospital in the county is oftentimes overwhelmed.
and you have to get a helicopter to.
So, well, or we have to wait for bed, we've had units that have had to wait for beds or just at the ER to, you have to transfer the patient, clean things up, come back, return to service. It's a half an hour drive down and back. Hopefully there's no train, which we've all experienced, right? So you can see how it, 2 hours, it doesn't mean that it's gonna take 2 hours to get to you.
No.
What it is it's once that unit goes out,
It's
those of us in
up to 2 hours.
the command world are like, well, we just lost station 63 for 2 hours. Like,
Well,
it's,
I had moved to my house in Pintail Loop. I had a Hashimoto brain hemorrhage on Drayton Harbor Road. It was an inherited immune disease, and I didn't expect it. But I collapsed in the road, and someone took me into my house. I don't remember. And then it was about 4 hours before my friends, they couldn't reach me on the phone and they came over. And then EMS from Lane, Todd Damon came and saved my life. And you have between 12 and 20 hours with that type of injury. And somehow he was there and I made it to St. Joe's and then was helicoptered to Harborview.
Yep.
So I was pleased that I didn't live in Semiahmoo at the time. But I'm thinking of moving to my house, so I'd rather have EMS around.
So you can see, these are just call volumes, these are just raw data from this last year. So how do we fund emergency services? I kind of talked about it a little bit, but in the state of Washington, fire and life safety services, or fire is capped, a levy rate at $1.50 per thousand. That's what was called the statutory max. A fire district cannot ask its citizens to approve more than $1.50 per thousand. The last levy rate that was approved was $1.42, and that was in 2006. Actually 1 year before I was hired. Since then, because of something called levy compression, which is on the next slide, the levy rates dropped to 76 cents. So as AVs go up, the levy rate goes down because we're limited to the 1% per year. So we're allowed to collect a set amount of revenue each year. So we can collect the same amount as the year before plus 1%. So to put that in like real dollar terms, if we collect $6.5 million in tax revenue last year, we can collect an additional $65,000 in the next year. So if our tax revenue was in 2023 was $6.5 million, in 2024, we can collect an additional $65,000 plus new construction. So whatever new construction at the levy, it works out to about 2% a year on average so 1% statutorily, and then an additional 1%. When there's building, it turns out we can levy about an additional 1%. So
Now, is that 1% a statewide?
yes, sir. That's you might remember the Tim Iman. I mean, when you've lived here, but the Tim Iman 747. That's what that was.
That, right.
You had a library one too,
So that's
Then why is it a compression? Why does it make it go down?
because we can only levy 1%
But the
more.
values of homes are going up.
Yes,
But we're limited
But
to
the
1%.
amount.
but the amount.
Okay, my $100,000 house went to 2, your 1% just got bigger
No,
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 Why?
1% is 1%.
of the previous.
Oh. Okay.
it's always the previous
How
year.
many, oh gosh.
So that's how it works.
And that's,
And that's how the levy rate goes from like $1.46 down to 76 cents, because they turn that rate down. You can't keep the rate artificially high. It can't stay $1.46 forever.
if your house increases 10%, we only still get 1% increase. So we don't get a 10% increase. And if you go back and look at your property tax statements, there's a line item on there that says fire district. And I've done that over the last 5 or 6 years, and my fire tax has stayed relatively even over the last 5 or 6 years that I did. It was $800 and some a year. It'll probably be $810 this year. It was $790 3 years ago. So we're not getting, it's not like, oh my gosh, we're paying you guys thousands and thousands of dollars every year because my house value went up. You actually could pay less because everybody else's house value went up. And because we're stuck at 1%, if everybody goes up, your piece of the pie gets smaller, right? It's kind of hard to explain that now. But I mean, that's what hangs us up in the ballot measures is because there'll be people that get on neighborhood next door or whatever and go, oh my gosh, you know, my house doubled in value. They don't need any more of my money.
Right,
Well, look at your tax statement and see how much you're actually giving to the fire district. I will guarantee you it's fairly flat.
What linguistics master came up with the word compression? How about degradation?
Well, whatever would work, I don't know.
Or squashing or stomping?
So is our levy rate here fairly similar to the rest of the state? Or do we find ourselves at 76 cents is way, way lower than the rest of the state? And how does this district really compare with the rest of the state?
We, in the county, I don't have numbers for the state, and I apologize, I don't have a slide here to show that. We'll add that in, that's a great question. For the county, we're low. When you look at other districts our size, comparable districts, which I would say, Fire District 7, which is the Ferndale area, or Fire District 1, which is to the east of us, which is kind of the Everson, Nooksack, that area, we're quite low. We're closer to District 7, but they have the refinery and they're much smaller. They cover a much smaller area than us. One second. Yeah, so it's, I will make sure that we have a slide like that in the future, and that is comparable to when we send out information to the voters about the proposed levy lid lift. That will be included. We just did a levy lid lift in District 4. They raised theirs.
Well, they have an EMS levy though, so they're at $1.10.
They're $1.10, $1.12.
South Whatcom was $1.20.
Fire District 1's in the $1.04 and $1.30s.
We're low.
We're low.
Yeah, and we're also very low density too, which really kind of compounds the problem.
Well, the area you live in is not. What our problem is we have 180 square miles. And no offense, I've looked at the voting precincts, and pretty much everything east of I-5 votes no. I mean, they're rural, agricultural, farms, pretty independent people, and they typically can vote down your levy lid lift just by sheer numbers of turnout. And part of the reason we're trying to appeal to the high density communities is, one, you use most of the services, and two, we need your numbers. I mean, if you believe in what we're saying here today, if only 30% of Semiahmoo people vote, which it just drives me nuts that you get a ballot in the mail and all you have to do is fill it out. You don't have to put a stamp on it. But that's my response.
no.
So we would love huge numbers. I think would help. We got COVID.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was gonna answer Doug's question. I was looking on your website last night, and it's for the 2023 numbers, the levy for Ferndale, I remember, was $1.19 per 1,000, and Bellingham was $1.30 per 1,000, and we're at 76 cents.
Mhm.
Yeah, and like it goes back to my statement about the density. In Bellingham, you have that $1.30 gets spread across a much smaller footprint and a lot more people. I mean, we're really handicapped with the low density.
It's definitely it's a challenge, and the demographics of the district are a challenge. People, whether they see the value of public services or not, that can be hard, hard communication as well.
The follow-up to Doug's question, which at this point I don't even remember. But it's a while. But who set that $1.50 rate? Was it the state?
State legislature.
Is everybody $1.50 across the state?
It's-
Or was it based on something?
It's for fire
Right,
districts, they
right.
said that fire districts can levy no more than $1.50.
And that's for all five
Every
years.
fire district in the state,
Okay,
whether it's in King County, Spokane County,
okay,
or
that's why,
Washington County.
that might clarify some of that for you, Doug, as to what's
And-
going on there.
That's not to get off the track, but that's where that whole junior taxing district and the total amount of that jurisdictions are allowed to tax. That be cities, any other government entity, there's $5 and
It's
80 some odd cents or whatever, but then as that pecking order goes down, we could potentially lose part of that $1.50 to a library or Parks Department or I wish that, I'll go and look those up, that's what the order is. So you're allowed a maximum of $1.50 as long as the total cost doesn't exceed that state maximum number, which is in the $5.
And it's often written that we can, the fire district can take $1.50. We can't take anything without your approval.
Right, right,
These gentlemen can't vote for you to spend more money.
right.
They're your representatives and they have, and I'll explain that kind of what's gonna happen in the future, or near future, but we can't take anything without the board's approval. We're still under.
Bruce hit on something a minute ago, so I have a question for you. You said you need our numbers and East of Five generally votes no, they want no new taxes, doesn't matter what it is, okay? Are we beating our heads against the wall or are there more of us than this?
You,
Okay,
No, we were really close last time. And I would say, the majority of voters, well, I don't know what the percentage was. Obviously, wasn't 60%, but it was over 50% that voted in your neighborhood. There just wasn't, well, I think that in 2021 was like, I want to say 35%.
wasn't a big enough turnout, right?
Right.
Okay,
Um,
I just wanted to make sure we had a chance.
oh, yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
I mean, there's so many elections. in the
Yeah, not
state.
everybody votes no there, but
True.
it's probably more in the 40%
Okay.
yes over there. If we could get 60% here and high turnout.
Okay.
It
All right.
would be more apt to be successful.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
So the last levy attempt that you did, what time of the year was that?
It was in August as well. We ran in August and November.
Okay,
Of
November,
2020.
you're gonna lose people automatically because of the snowbirds. So running them in the winter, not a good idea, people are gone.
You don't,
These are snowbird, this is a snowbird community,
you
forget
don't
that
get
part.
ballots.
And they don't get their ballots. They let their mail get collected and their friends collect it for them, or same thing I do. I'm gone for 2 months. Somebody else collects it. I would never see that ballot, ever.
It's true.
So you're losing voters by doing something in the winter. Also, you have a lot of Canadian owners and they can't vote.
Well, they couldn't even come across the border.
2021.
2021,
Oh,
they couldn't come across the border.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is when you run these things, the Canadians aren't gonna vote anyway, so you lose that, so you may say, well, we have, a giant bunch of people here. It just got declined by probably a third.
Right. And that's why that's why the plan is to go in August.
Yeah, and that's a much better.
And typically we don't want to run up against a presidential election. That's
Right.
because.
Or be right after one,
Or be right after one.
yeah,
since you have to reach the 40%.
yeah,
So
voter turnout
it's,
threshold.
yeah, so the plan right now is to go in August of 2024.
okay.
And we're not talking, when I'm talking who voted or how many, we're not talking population, we're talking registered voters.
Right.
So Canada's out. Okay, they're not counted.
No, yeah, those winter snowbirds, they're not voting.
Why do you guys need to stick around? It's next year.
Yeah.
No, no one wants to stick around. But just so that you remember that,
Thank you, that's a great point.
So we pretty much talked about this. Do my property taxes increase the same percentage as my home value? And that answer is no. And I will show you a resource. You can, that you can, as Commissioner Ansel said, you can look on your tax statement that you get from the county.
Yeah.
I'll show you another resource here when we're done for looking at, just if you want to see how your taxes are spent, it's kind of a one-stop shop that, it will also kind of help to paint a picture of, any taxing authority in the county that you pay taxes to and how their budgets have been over the past couple of years. I would also like to go on the record as saying, I find the word tax revenue to be distasteful, but in government ease, that's the word we use.
Good.
But I don't particularly like it because it's just not, it's not my favorite. So the bottom line is revenues are not keeping up, as we've talked through this entire presentation. Our levy rate's fallen from $1.42 in 2006 down to 76 cents. The 1% increase, it's just not adequate. And even with new construction, which really adds up to about an additional percent each year, it's just, if you think about what just labor costs, or healthcare costs, in order to have great people and to retain great people, you have to pay them. We've all seen, the news articles about what maybe service workers are getting paid, how their salary, their wages have increased. I have a daughter that works at McDonald's. I can't believe what she makes. And that trickles up to people like firefighters and police and nurses and all those other people. It's retaining good people. And that's what makes the fire district. We're here talking about taxes, but it's the men and women that roll out on the calls that make the district. And what we saw during COVID, we didn't have anybody leave because of a shop mandate or anything like that. We did lose 10 people in 2 months because they went to King County for higher wages. Because they went to King County, they could do the same job and get paid $20,000 or $30,000 a year more to drive an hour and a half. And so the world's gotten smaller, commuting 2 hours isn't a big deal anymore. And in order to retain good people, it costs money. And so we do spend a lot on our people. But it's the market rate. Our
They are
EMS,
good.
and they are
We
good.
have-
We have exceptional people.
Yes.
All of these people you see in the background here are all people that work at the fire district. These aren't canned photos. These are photos from our department. So our EMS calls have gone up 50%. The complexity of those calls have gone up incredibly. I came off of what we call a line. I came out from being I left being a company officer. So of being a responding company officer into the office in 2019. And I can't believe the whole job has changed. And when I talk to my peers who came in the fire service when I did, they agree with me, and they're getting tired and they're retiring earlier.
Yeah.
It's the whole industry has taken a change. And it's a combination of increase, our population is increasing, the increase in difficulties accessing healthcare, or even things like social work or long-term care. The opioid crisis, and before that it was meth, and before that it was something else. Those are really hard on the firefighters. The general disrespect that people seem to treat each other with anymore these days. That takes a toll. We have firefighters wearing bulletproof vests on calls. Things have gotten weird. St. Joe's is getting more and more as a single hospital in the community. They're more and more tapped as more people move here, and all those factors I just talked about. They're seeing higher acuity patients. They're staying longer. They're staying in the ER longer. Just all those things are kind of compressing this whole situation. And the firefighters they're stepping up. They're doing things that they never, they're a nurse, a teacher, they're doing some homeschool stuff, they're doing social work, not stuff they were trained for. They're learning how to do it, and they're doing an amazing job. So we have the, challenges we have, just that affect our agency. The train is obviously a huge one. It's not uncommon. We've all been stopped by the train. I don't probably need to talk more about that. In 2020, we had a train derailment. If anybody lived here, you might remember that. That went amazingly well. We were shocked at how well that went, even though there was a significant amount of damage. When you looked at what have happened in other communities, we came out pretty good. We dodged a bullet because we know the next one won't go that well. And if it were to happen at Bell and Portal and Blaine, or, right on Peace Portal, right there beneath, beneath the condos or beneath, downtown Blaine, it could have a completely different outcome. We've got to be able to adequately staff our station, respond to calls, and rely on less mutual aid. Mutual aid is when one thing that all the fire chiefs on the western side of the county have agreed with is that none of us have enough resources. And as soon as 20 years ago, fire departments were kind of like kingdoms. Our ground was to the middle of the road, the yellow line. That's as far as we'd go. My generation of chiefs have done is we've dropped the borders. They're seamless. It's the closest unit, closest available unit goes. We all go, we all help each other. It's probably coming close to what you were talking about with, one helping money wise, but we realize the data shows it's all a wash. But we can't rely, we have to rely on mutual and automatic aid. The problem is the geographical piece that goes into that. We can have automatic aid, and that's great, but it's coming from Church Road in Ferndale, or Brown Road in Ferndale, or it's Linden. It's coming from the city of Linden, right? That's a long time to get out here, even going code. Lights and sirens doesn't increase your speed by that much. Some challenges that we've got, additional challenges. Station 63, as Commissioner Hansel talked about, it's literally falling apart. The firefighters are still working in there until we can get Station 62 up the street here to be a little more livable. I will show you a video here of Station 63.
And 62 is semi-annual.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I got to be better about.
Yeah, numbers don't mean anything. I don't mean much to me either.
Semi-annual station. This is inside Station 63 during one of our recent rainstorms.
Wow.
That won't catch fire.
Where's 63?
Birch Bay.
Birch Bay Station, the big Birch Bay Station.
Yeah,
So,
afterward, I'll talk.
this isn't the only video I've got. I mean, I've got more.
I was gonna say, that's a very generous video compared to some of what we got.
It's, and as much as one thing about firefighters is we've got to have a sense of humor. As much as we try to spin it as an indoor water feature, it's a significant safety hazard. And unfortunately, this is one of several leaks that we've got. That building is 50 years old. It's got a flat roof here in the Northwest. Not sure who thought that was an awesome idea. But the UV rays have just degraded the roof to the point where we do have a commercial company that does maintenance on it. And they said there's nothing more they can do, short of stripping the entire roof off, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars. What we actually need is a new station.
Yeah.
It's a new building is what we need. It's not set up. It's not set up to be, well, it works great if everybody looked like me, it would be great. But the bottom line is we have female firefighters now, and they would like to use a shower that they don't have to share with male firefighters.
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time, not at the same time, but
Our solar showers, I have a black bag.
we have, we have the kitchens, it was a station that was built to have volunteers. So it has a kitchenette almost. It doesn't have any, bunk rooms. It doesn't, it has a common bunk room during COVID. That was fun, trying to figure out how we were gonna deal with all that. So all the firefighters sleep in the same room.
The training tower is,
The training tower is, actually been, it's structurally unfit. We can't use it anymore. It's gone through too many freeze thaw cycles and, there were some problems when it was built and those problems have been exacerbated over time. And, it's not, the firefighters can't use it anymore. It's too small. It doesn't have proper HVAC. It doesn't have proper ventilation. We've had it checked out by an industrial hygienist to make sure that it's safe because unfortunately, with the workforce, we have 50 firefighters. In the past, since 2017, we've had five line of duty cancers. One passed away from his cancer that he got through work. Elle and I determined it to be a workplace caused cancer. And they don't know if it's from the station or from chemicals that we use or fire exposure. We have another firefighter right now, a recent retiree. She's on hospice. And she'll be, we're waiting for her to pass away as well. She spent her whole retirement fighting cancer.
And it's duty related.
And it's duty related. I'm the fire chief. Currently I'm a one-man fighting hole. My assistant was in November, was diagnosed with brain cancer. He's fighting that right now. Also determined to be work related. We have another retiree. He's healthy, thank God, who liver and bladder cancer. We have another firefighter he and I, our birthdays, I think, are a month apart. He says he's too young to quit working. He has multiple myeloma, determined to be work related. But he's too young to stop working and he's going to work until he's sick. So in this small little department, we have all these cancers. The industrial hygienist wasn't able to tie it to Station 63, but the common thread with all those people is they all work to Station 63. So it needs to go away. It's time. We don't have the money to replace it. The board is strongly considering taking out a loan, which the district has to repay out of its general fund to pay to rebuild Station 63. We need to raise the levy. We need to raise the levy rate. We need to build a station. We just don't have the track record with voters to say, to put both on the ballot and expect them both to pass. So the board has chosen wisely, I think, I believe.
Well, and a bond requires 60%. We can't get 60% of anything for anything in this county.
I think you could get 1% and then another 1% for building. Did I misunderstand it?
No, that was where our money comes from. If we want to ask you to fund a bond to buy a new fire truck or an aid car or a fire station, we have to get 60% yes vote.
So that's how you get around the 1%.
No.
There's no getting around the 1%.
Okay, fine.
There's no getting around.
This is what I'm saying is we have a hard time getting 50%. And now we've got a $15–20 million need that requires 60%. The reason we're taking out a loan is because at this point, we don't believe that the community would support by 60% to fund us to build that fire station.
and so while that's going on, there's still the ongoing costs associated with running the rigs. You've got fire rigs that used to cost how much and now cost how much?
For years, it seemed like a fire engine cost about $500,000. That was kind of the going rate. Since 2020, since COVID hit, the The last engine we bought was $865,000.
And that's a cheap one.
And that's a toolbox. It's not a great.
Bare bones.
So you also couple that with the extensive use of these vehicles because of how far you're having to drive, the overlapping based on short staffing.
Right.
It's a self-perpetuating problem. right
It is, and fire engines, emergency vehicles it's not like where we wear our car out. We have it for 20 years or 10 years, and you put 150,000 miles on it and get a new one. Your home insurance rating depends a lot on what the fire department does or doesn't do. Some of you may have found that out, because, well, although Washington State insurance rates are going nuts right now anyway. But we have to replace, by the insurance rules, a fire engine only lasts 20 years. The first 10 years of its life, it can be in frontline service. The last 10 years, it has to be in reserve service. We've currently thrown out the 10-year mark. Yes, sir.
We currently live in a forest. What if there were a forest fire here? Would there be enough equipment?
There would be.
Out?
Yep. That's one of the things we're trying, all fire chiefs, and I'm no different. We're trying to do creative things. We actually, District 4, so the district that we contract with, we lease one of their stations to DNR, so that we have a closer, better relationship. And yeah, we work really well.
Department of Natural Resources, they're the
Wildlife experts.
Well, one thing I was leading up to is my question about, is there an evacuation plan for our area?
There's not currently an evacuation plan. We would probably use the same as the tsunami.
Yeah.
on that one-way road.
Yeah.
Right.
Both over the railroad tracks.
In the park.
So what would it take to convince the county or the city to develop evacuation plans? Seems like we need to.
It's probably long overdue. It's certainly something I can bring up with the fire chiefs and see if we can get the county on board to push that forward. It would be Department of Emergency Management would probably be the lead agency in that, because it wouldn't just be the fire departments, it would be the counties. It would be overarching.
If you published something like that, it would buy you political capital with the voters up here like you wouldn't believe. Make me feel so much more like I'm safe, they're taking care of me. Yeah, vote for it.
The problem is it's not our jurisdiction.
Right.
The emergency planning is managed by Whatcom County. Their emergency preparedness coordinator just retired. And so we're hoping that the new person is a little more proactive and, how do I say it?
Proactive.
Helpful.
Yeah.
With the changing of the sheriff's office and all of that, there's been some personnel changes and retirements, and so we're kind of keeping our fingers crossed and watching to see if some of those projects that maybe were left unattended to get more attention.
Our committee will
I
follow
don't
up
know.
more.
But as the chief said, if you look at our fire prevention and public education, we don't have the money to hire someone to even fill that position, let alone buy the flyers and the paperwork and
We'll take care of it.
and do all the work that it would take to make that. I mean, your fire chief here is doing the job of 3 people right now. We used to have 2 assistant chiefs. One has brain cancer and one went back to the line because there was just more work there than he was doing on the line. So, I mean, and we can't afford to hire him help right now. It's sad and it's pathetic. And we are so lucky to have Jason here, doing the job he's doing. I can say that in front of him because we've said in front of him before. The last thing we want to do is burn him out any more than we've already burned him out. But, he's doing a heck of a job, but, you know, he's like a one-legged, one-armed, paper hanger, and he's out there, doing it about 60, 70 hours a week.
Okay, so you got up there that, you wanna do this levy lid lift. And it's gonna cost everybody 34 cents per $1,000 on their property. Is that over and above what we're already paying, or is that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right.
So what's, yes, ma'am, sorry,
I think we need a game plan.
I'll get to that.
I'm sorry, but-
Hey, it's not like, all right.
Let's let him finish his stuff.
So what,
So, all right, so,
we got 2 slides left.
so the $500,000 that a home currently pays how much?
Currently pays, can you grab my?
350, 360 bucks a year.
Okay, so on top of that is the 170.
Right.
Okay.
The 170 would be,
So
you know, there,
what,
maybe in Simeon, there aren't a lot of $500,000 homes,
double,
but, you
So it'd
can,
be at $500.
you can do the math.
Okay, so it'd be more like $500.
what,
340 more for $100,000 or for $1 million.
Okay,
what I asked the commission to consider is raising the levy rate to $1, is asking the voters to raise it to $1, raise the levy rate to $1.10 per
Okay.
cost. So that's 34 cents in addition. So we had 76 cents now, adding 34 cents to that 76 cents comes up to $1.10.
Of the $1.50 that we are allowed to go to, and we know that wouldn't be fair to ask our voters to go to $1.50. They would probably run us out of town.
Well, they vote no.
Yeah,
They did.
they
Can we
would.
put it in different terms? Is that $150 per million?
Right now, it's 340 per million.
Yeah,
More.
so
yeah, it's more. I think that's something that's gotta be clarified.
Yeah.
people that own $1 million home should be happy to pay a few more $100 a year.
Well, as I,
So,
I'll leave my
That's,
own.
that's an individual question.
but I think you have to clarify the fact that this is over and above what you already. paid.
Yes,
I think people need to know that.
Yep.
That's the scary part, because they won't like, you know,
and just so you know, you're the first group to see this PowerPoint,
okay.
so you're.
But also understand that the voters have never seen one of these since 2006.
Yeah, no, I get that.
And I mean, how often does the school run a levy limit? Every year?
Yeah.
Every other year?
Yeah.
Fire districts, you know, I started here in 2016. And so there hadn't been a levy lid lift 10 years prior to me coming in. The chiefs and the staff, you're very lucky because the firefighters forwent pay raises to make the budget.
We gave money back.
They gave money back to balance the budget. They live in crappy fire stations to balance the budget. They drive old fire trucks to balance the budget. Some of them got fed up and went somewhere else because they could make a decent living. So, I mean,
I'm not saying it's bad.
No,
I'm in favor of it.
I know, but
I just think you have to be clear with the vote.
I'm just telling you that for this long time, everyone in the organization did everything possible. I mean, they bought used refrigerators, they bought cheap HVAC systems, and they cheaped us, and now we're paying for it, right? Because everything's breaking and everything's worn out and everything's old, like, and we're begging you to help us.
I think you could get a donated refrigerator.
We've gone through many of those.
Okay,
We're not doing it anymore. Sorry.
So this is what it would cost. This is what we're asking for it to cost. So the way this works, or how does this levy rate get on the ballot? So at the last board meeting, last Thursday, I asked the board of commissioners to consider putting $1.10 levy rate on the ballot in August. On March sixth, at 7 PM, Station 61 in Blaine on Odell Road, we're going to have a public hearing. Between now and then, we're gonna put out blasts on social media, put out
Okay,
more things in the news, trying to get people to come tell us what they think about $1.10. Or not tell us, tell the board what they think about $1.10. The board will hear those public comments. It's an open public meeting. Anybody's welcome to come that lives in the fire district. Excuse me,
what's the date
March sixth
And my time,
at 7 PM.
7 PM.
At, I'll get you the address. It's a station on Odell Road.
You know, you could have one at Jacob's Landing too.
We can only do one.
Oh,
It's-
gosh.
This is all of this follows the RCW. Or all of this
Oh, yeah.
follows the legislative code that the Washington State Legislature set before us. So,
Even how much information we can disseminate, i.e. like flyers and mailers, we get one.
Wow.
Would you be willing to show this to the Semiano Men's Club?
Yes, sir.
They would want to see this slideshow.
yes, sir.
Any group that you can muster, we would love
I'll
to
get the
come
VP to give you a call.
talk to.
I'll get you my card after this.
So you could do this at Jacob's Landing in Birchville.
We can
Do this presentation, the public hearing is,
The public
Yeah,
hearing.
oh, okay, fine.
We can do these presentations.
we're gonna be at the Birch Bay Chamber, we're gonna be at Birch Bay Village, we're gonna be hopefully at the Blaine Chamber, at the senior center.
Oh,
We're
okay.
trying to get as many groups educated. We can't tell you to vote yes. It's illegal for us to tell you vote yes. What we can tell you is the condition we're in and what it would take for us to be a functioning fire department. But we legally can't tell you to vote yes.
So Semiano has a bi-monthly newsletter that goes out, that gets read pretty well. It also has a weekly update that goes out. And this kind of information is really important to be in that. So our communications committee would.
Well, if we could get in the bi-weekly or the weekly newsletter, just the announcement about that public meeting, that would be extremely helpful.
Yeah.
And you've seen sort of the news blasts that are coming out. They're just starting. There was one I think Bellingham Herald had it. I think Cascadia does some.
Cascade thinks that.
AGMI is starting to do it.
AGMI.
So we have a group that is helping us get our message out. And so if you have a place where we can give you a message that can be put in your newsletter or whatever. One, we don't have the time to make all that stuff up.
No, just-
We do review it, but
Give me a clue and I'll
if you-
do it.
have a source that we can send you a 2-paragraph, 1-page, whatever thing. And you can disseminate it,
Okay.
that would help us immensely,
Yeah.
because as you know, today. Walter Cronkite isn't on the news every night at 5 o'clock, and people have their own places that they get their news from, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or whatever, and that was part of our challenge last levy lived with, right at the tail end of COVID, is that one, people were really mad and people were isolated and we couldn't even do meetings like
We were
this.
prohibited from having public meetings.
And so we couldn't get our message out. I think that was a big reason, one of the big reasons we failed. But we probably didn't paint a true enough picture of our financial position then as we're trying to do now. And still be fair and put a levy rate. I mean, I love $1.50. Trust me, we could do so much with $1.50, but I don't think we can pass that. And so what we're asking for is something to keep our head above water, but truth in lending, we're gonna come back in 4 or 5 years and ask for another one because every year it gets chomped away.
We have to get in the Northern Light.
Oh, it is.
We are, we've already had an
Yeah.
editorial in there already.
With guardianship, so I don't.
And we'll have more.
There's at least 5 condo complexes in Birch Bay.
I have a ballot question. You know how when you go to make a tip in restaurants now, it says 15, 18. Can you
22,
have check boxes on the ballot that say I vote for 150?
we're allowed one shot. But thank you.
We need to get to the legislature, please. Figure out how-
We do go to Olympia.
We go to Olympia every year.
Go to the county, no, I mean, this year, we were following a bill that was supposed to allow us to go to 3% instead of the 1, and it died in committee.
Well, what if you brought a busload of people with you?
Legislators still have to vote for a tax.
They still do.
Yeah, every legislator I've talked to said it's a great idea, but not on my watch because people don't like tax increases. And I want to get reelected, I can't raise your tax.
How do we support everything?
I don't care if you reelect me, I'll be honest. I mean, I'm a 6-year termer. I do this because I love the community. And I love what Chief Vanderveen's doing, and I did it for 30 years as a paid professional, but if you guys don't like what we're doing, you can certainly vote us out.
So these are the three things, the three main things that we're looking to fund with the levy. We need to hire 8 additional emergency personnel, firefighter EMTs. Over the 6 years, it will not take 6 years to hire them. That's just wording for the outreach. To respond to higher call volumes. And the current plan is for them to be stationed at the semi-new station right here up the street. That's where that will be where they were played.
That needs work, huh?
Yeah, if I may make a suggestion for your slide, when you speak to the men's group, put that in your slide. The intention is to staff the city on the station.
Okay.
Yeah, people will be very interested.
Okay.
Yeah,
The levy would help fund the replacement of Station 63 in Birch Bay. So the district's payment, I'm a worst case scenario guy. So what we're looking to borrow, I guess for lack of a better word, bond up to $15 million. I don't believe it's going to cost $15 million to replace that station. But we have to get the money moving before we can get all the plans drawn up and everything like that.
So you're gonna raise the current building, is that right? You're gonna destroy the current
Yes,
building, and you're gonna build back on that lot?
yes.
If it's built.
If it's buildable,
Okay,
we have to do all the studies, the soil studies. And,
Isn't that old radar station just too decrepit to even say,
the radar, out there at,
that's a big place.
no, that's not where we are. We're on Birch Bay Linden Road.
Yeah, I know, but okay.
And the station 63, if you look at the call data, it's in the right spot.
Oh,
It really is in the
Okay.
perfect spot. Actually, I'd love to be on the corner where I'd like to be, but where it's at, and we own the land, and so we don't particularly want to buy more land. So that's where we'd like to
I
go.
was thinking of someone donating it.
That would be good to,
Unheard of.
Does it include bringing pay raises to the staff?
I did, yes, I included that in just what I included 5% each year. It doesn't necessarily mean, usually it's tied to CPI, which thankfully is gone down to normal. But
we had a big catch up when the inflation went 10%. And our people were 15% behind before the 10% hit. So, I mean, we're trying over time to get them back that 25% that their neighbors were making and that, doing the same job. So it's, like I said, it's getting the message out. I think people in the community are not opposed to paying a fair wage, especially for the quality of people that we have attracted and want to retain. And I say that with all honesty, having worked in the industry as long as I did, to see these people here and how hard they work and how committed they are and the type of things they deal with on a day-to-day basis. I don't think we could have any better people, but every week I wonder why they're not going to Bellingham or King County or somewhere else that pays a whole lot more than. Anyway, I'm sorry.
that's right. And then replace emergency apparatus that's reaching the end of its service life. Immediately really on the docket are two fire engines, two fire engines, which will be roughly $1 million a piece. Ladder truck, which is about $2 million. And then we replace 8 cars and cycles. We replace them every other year. Because like, for example, the current Blaine 8 car has 115,000 miles on it as of last week. They just,
And it's one of our newer ones.
and it's, and they just get beat up.
How much do you project the levy lift, if passed, is going to add to your budget? We're talking 6.5 million today. Are you gonna be able to cover those costs?
Yes, sir. It would bring us up to roughly $10 million. And then with other sources of revenue, we do charge for transports. There's some intergovernmental charges that we, some leases and things like that. It would fund those. And that was actually at our board meeting. If you went back and looked at the film, that was actually Commissioner Rayberg's big concern is, are we asking for enough? It's enough to feel safe for a while. But this may be distasteful, but I think a healthy organization that relies on the taxpayers to approve it needs to check in with its taxpayers every few years and ask for a responsible increase, a nickel, a dime, something like that, not 36 cents. When you wait 20 years, you're going to have these huge swings. But if we're to come back to you in 4 years or 6 years for a nickel or 11 cents or something like that, that's and quite honestly, we need to get the voters. We need the voters conditioned to watch for us. And say,
That's
hey, how's my fire department doing? Why have you?
And that's the funding mechanism by statute that we have.
Mhm.
So
We get it.
it's, a lot of this is like, people like, really? Where does your money come from? It comes from you.
Just
And it's-
want to educate people.
And it's truly a local tax. It doesn't go to Olympia.
Yeah.
There's no pull out 5% for art or anything like that. It goes to Whatcom County and then it comes to the fire district. Those, if you want to know what you're buying, go down and knock on the door of the fire station. And if they don't give you a tour, call me and let me know and I'll tune them up and you go back and get your tour. Those are your rigs. Those are your, when they're on the clock, those are your firefighters. That's your stuff. You bought it. And it's truly, you can see your tax, we always say tax dollars at work, that you're truly seeing your tax dollars at work.
Yeah, but you have a Dalmatian down there.
We don't, because then.
We'd have to feed it.
No, they did ask for actually comfort dogs or like mental health dogs have become a thing. And I had a couple stations that asked for them, and then Station 69, I call it in downtown Laurel. That's actually where I was always assigned. They're they're a little off, and they asked me for a station donkey. They already hadn't picked out. So I said, no animals.
They ask you for a donkey or
Yeah, they said donkey. We would have said, if they named it Chief, then I'd know.
I'm wondering if you might be able to, not at this meeting, but at some point, give us more information on how insurance companies rate fire districts.
Sure.
Because that's something that I think could be of interest to voters. We have one multifamily community in Semiahmoo that had difficulty getting
Yes.
insurers to even bid on coverage because of the fire district rating.
Yep.
And that's a serious issue. So if we can understand how is that, what does that formula look like?
Selling quick.
Then we
Yeah, the midsummer.
I can give you a Reader's Digest version because I did some research into this for my own house. I live outside of Birch Bay Village on Birch Bay Drive, so. The insurance industry depends on what's a nonprofit group called the Washington Survey and Rating Bureau, WSRB. WSRB rates fire districts in the state of Washington, and they provide that information to insurance companies. The insurance companies in turn give them a stipend for providing them that information. It's kind of, I'm not quite sure how it really works. It's almost like anyway, the insurance company,
We need that information.
then, WSRB rates a fire department. Now, they do look at very carefully, they do a deep dive into a fire department. They look at how many paid people they have, how many fire stations they have, how much water supply they have. They look at their fire prevention division. They look at the age of their apparatus.
Response times.
And they look at response times. And of course, all of those are dependent on staffing and money and equipment and such and such. So as we get poorer, that rate gets higher. As that rate gets higher, so do insurance rates. We had a couple earlier this year who's lives in that rural area, and because we don't have volunteers anymore, except a few that bring water to our calls. And that's sort of industry wide, volunteers have gone away. They went from a 5 or 6 to a 9. They went from a 6 to a 9. Now, my insurance rates went up significantly regardless of that rating, but theirs went through the roof. They went from like $900 a year to like almost $3,000.
Wow.
So wouldn't it make sense for homeowners to vote for a lift because then their insurance would go down?
Yes.
Well, I don't think you can guarantee the fact that their insurance,
No,
if our.
it will not go up as fast. All the insurance has gone up significantly this year, and this is a whole nother topic, but I had a friend of mine, he's an electrician in Seattle, and a buddy of his has a rental house. And he wanted to get insurance on his house. The insurance company flew a drone over the house and said his roof needed to replace, and they would not insure him. So the insurance companies are using, my house is 20 years old, has a 25-year roof. The company I talked to wanted a $15,000 deductible on my roof to insure my house. I said, it's been inspected, it's in good shape. They go, yeah, too bad, it's 20 years old.
Okay, so you said that was a 9, that
Outside the rural is, we're a 6 here.
we're a 6.
Well,
But what is the top number? 26
One.
or is it,
1 is the best,
and what is the worst?
9.
9,
So 9 is the worst.
Mhm.
Okay, because I had no,
yeah,
So
sorry.
for the first, so yes, I would be happy to do that. And it might be interesting to have an insurance agent or someone in the community who's an insurance agent to sit side by side and not to debate, but just so you can see both perspectives.
However, because I asked an insurance company that question, what if I go from a 5 to a 7, what happens? They wouldn't answer.
Most of their schedules are proprietary. Their fee schedules are
They
proprietary.
won't
They don't-
tell you, so I had to say, okay, what if my house? You can't say in general, what if all the houses in Simeon did this, they won't give you boo. But if you go like, hey, I'm thinking about renewing my insurance, what would happen if mine went, then they will give you a quote for your personal property. But like I said, insurance in Washington this year, I don't know if you guys have gotten your renewals yet or not, but I was shocked.
Awful.
It's interesting.
Your point, sorry, your point is my point. I mean, I look at these people, it may not be thousands in savings, but it would be cheaper to have paid for the fire service to be more efficient and staffed to decrease the rate at which your homeowners goes up. And I think you would, if you spent dollar for dollar, the money spent on the fire department would probably be less than half, if not greater than, if you had to just pay the insurance.
Plus it saves lives.
Plus, if you have a heart attack, we come too. It doesn't matter what your house is insured for. right?
The rough answer, or the simple answer to the community down here on the spit, that they're more than 5 miles from a staff station. And it's 5 road miles, and usually they use Google Maps. There's a family literally just down the street here, that I've written multiple letters in trying to help them through this. They're 100 feet
Oh,
outside of the 5 miles.
oh,
And I've explained up one side and down the other, and my biggest frustration with the insurance company, which you may want to put a partition if you do get an agent, is that, nothing changed with our service delivery. Everything changed with the way they rated us. And also, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that I told the truth. Maybe my predecessors might have fudged some numbers or moved some data around to make us look better to the insurance company. I told the absolute truth. You can blame my dad and my mom, I guess. I don't know any other way to do business. And I'm not gonna lie and put my livelihood at risk and put the district at risk for, to get a better rating. The people, unfortunately, we did try in 2021 to explain that the only way to keep insurance rates down is unfortunately staffing more stations, which is expensive. I understand it is, until it's your house or your family member.
right.
And I hate that argument. I hate that we dangle that out in front of people, but now we're seeing it happen in real time when we're getting these people that are on fixed incomes writing letters or calling me really upset. And I understand that, I understand the compression that they're feeling, right? If you're in a fixed income, paying that much more for insurance has got to be crippling. I didn't make the rules. I'm just trying to follow them. And
Are you Catholic? Did we raise Catholic?
Episcopalian. Catholic light.
Close.
Yeah. I went to Catholic high school.
Ah, they don't let you lie.
Sister Maureen Rose, yeah, but she got a few whacks. Anyway, I would be happy to talk about insurance, but it can be not heated, but it can be there can be a lot of emotion in it because it's costing people a significant amount. And I think it's really arbitrary the way they're doing things because nothing has changed in our fire district about how we deliver service, how we fight fires, where and how long it takes us to get places. But this year, they just flipped the script on a lot of people. There's like a huge portion of our district that is being affected by a simple number change on a computer. And somebody in corporate America is making a ton of money. So.
Yes, thank you, Seth.
And that's really my last slide. I'm sure you're all talking about that.